Hey everyone, welcome to another Amigos Play. This is Aaron, and tonight it's a Magnetic Fields production, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to have a go at Supercars for the Amiga. Supercars was released by Gremlin Graphics and developed by Magnetic Fields in 1990. This is a one-player game. I've read that this has one disc and two disc varieties. We'll be playing the two disc version. And we're playing this off the House Amiga 600 tonight with the GoTech. So we're going right off the GoTech drive. I'd like to thank Gary Hucker for providing the Amigos with this little beauty. And we're going to kick the tires on this thing and kick the tires on Supercars as well. So let's see. I got 4 letters here. I will put in my nickname. I have just recently started playing Supercars this week. We're going to be reviewing it on the show. So I've not played it a ton. I don't think I've ever played this until this week. Boy, it came out of nowhere. So let's go with track 1 and we'll just fire it up here. Took me a while to realize that meant change the disc. So the loading times on this aren't too bad though. So of course, if you've got a GoTech drive, you're familiar with the mythology here. You just hit the little button, go to the next disc, and it fires it up. The fact of the matter is that some games are friendlier to discs than others, and this one's not too bad. So I thought right out of the gate. This one, I thought we would try using the GoTech. So you'll notice my play methodology on this is to ram a lot of people, which unfortunately is not good for your car in the sort of strategic part of this game where you pay for repairs and whatnot. We'll get to that in a moment, see what I can place here, but I usually can do pretty well in the first couple of races here. So I'm playing tonight with the Amiga CD32 gamepad, and I'll tell you, since I've gotten this 600 here in the house, I have, for whatever reason, I guess because all my joysticks are out in the arcade. For those that don't know, I've got a separate building that houses the majority of my console games and my arcade machines and pinball machines, and my Amiga 1200. Well, up to this point, I have not had an Amiga here in the house since I moved it out there, and lo and behold, when Gary sent me this, I moved it in here and have been playing it. So the only thing I had in here was the CD32 gamepad, which of course I could have been out when I got another joystick, but I'm lazy. And so, but anyway, I've actually grown to really love this gamepad. I mean, it is. I've mentioned it on the show a couple weeks ago, but this thing is yes. Switch the disc here. This thing is highly underrated. I mean, I'll admit, it looks like a goofy, I don't know, not sure, like a U maybe, elongated U, and forever I would pick it up backwards, and just because it's shaped in an odd way, and it makes me want to play it upside down. Okay, we've got to go to the garage. But man, I really enjoyed this thing, and this is really the most I've ever played Amiga games on a gamepad, and a lot of these work, and this is one that works quite well. So we're going to load up here. I usually try to get as much as I can. Pardon that. I like to get as many things as I can to aid in my driving and not necessarily in my killing. So I usually try to top everything off and then go with an engine increase or power steering. Sometimes I'm sure there's strategy to this, but I don't know what it is since I haven't played this game long enough to get a strategy. Okay, you know what that means. If you're an epileptic, this is not the game for you. So Well, let's load that. But let's talk about Magnetic Fields. What a company they were. And they did a lot of awesome stuff, including, of course, the Lotus series. It's funny, they have the premier pole position style racer, or 3D or whatever you want to call that, and they may have the premier top-down 2D racer. I mean, this is an awful good game. I mean, I really have to say, I am kicking myself for not having played it sooner. And the funny thing about it is, I mean, in a lot of ways, it's a simple game. There it is. And the thing that I like about it is its simplicity. If you've played Super Sprint on the Atari back in the day, or perhaps you've played Iron Man Stewart's off-road, trucking game, which this shares some similarities too, the controls and whatnot. This game, this is not. They did not reinvent the wheel here. This is something you've seen. I mean, I had games like this for the Odyssey even that were similar to this, where you drive around on a track, similar controls. But they've added some elements that make it a lot of fun. The kind of the drifting element, where when you let go of your gas as you hit the corner, it's interesting, and it has its uses, but it often just gets me past more than not. The fact that they've put in the ability for you to ponder your move when you're finished with the race. You take the money you've got and do I need tires this time? Can I upgrade my engine this time? Son of a... Sorry. Can I... Do I need more... Do I need armor? Do I need missiles? I mean, that's one aspect of this game that is really odd to me. I used to play... not too bad. I used to play... hold on. Come on. I used to play a lot of a game on the PC called Death Race. And there's another one called... there was another Death Race type game. It was something Rally. Where it was a combat driving top-down game. And also there was a 3D game. And those were great. And of course, I'm a big Carmageddon fan, right? Who isn't? But this game seems like a straight-up rally game. You've got just a bunch of cars out here, but then you add the element of missiles to it. It is very strange to me. I think that's one aspect of it. I mean, they could have probably... that I could probably have done without. I mean, the way I look at combat games, racing games, either you're going to go full bore or you're not going to go at all. But I guess, when I think back on it, it's better to have left it in and make some people happy than to have taken it out and people would be asking, well, where's the missiles? Why isn't there any combat in the game? And I will say, me and my son play a lot of San Francisco Rush 2049, and there's a battle mode in that that we really enjoy. And then when we get back to the actual racing, we're always annoyed that there's no shooting in the race. And so it would be neat. It would have been neat in that game to have the shooting. So I guess that's a good reason enough to leave it in here. Let me go ahead and make my purchases here. I don't know if there's a method to when you should buy a new car. I usually try to get through the majority of the first set of races before I go buy one if I can make it. So anyway, getting back to Magnetic Fields, the Lotus series obviously tremendous, and of course they did this Supercar series. Oh, hold on. And then a few others, including one we covered called Kid Chaos. It's funny, Kid Chaos, I didn't like the lead character in it, and obviously that game went through a lot of changes. But it still was certainly polished. And one thing about Magnetic Fields is they don't mess around. Their stuff is very highly tuned and ready to go. Okay, here we go. I'm forever hitting these cars. It just doesn't seem like there's enough room on the track. I think graphically, the game looks good. Again, it's This is an old game in terms of, I mean, it's 1990, but it would run on the OCS. There's nothing special about the hardware involved in this, and it runs. Is it the fastest car game I've ever seen? No, but I kind of like it at this speed. This is about as quick as I need it to go. I like the variety of tracks is pretty good. The obstacles are also pretty well done. You know, it's standard. It's standard stuff. You know, so you're not seeing anything that you haven't seen before. This was coded by Sean Southern, the famous Sean Southern, who has coded the majority of the big games from from Magnetic Fields, including Lotus and Supercars Kid Chaos. He's a big time player, and you know, he with his help they took Magnetic Fields to the top. Of course, this was put out by Gremlin back in the day. Gosh, Gremlin had just did a ton of stuff. I'm trying to think what I can think of that they put out. I think they put out Disposable Hero, the Hero Quest games, where I thought were really good. Of course, a lot of the Magnetic Field stuff, Lotus. They did Nigel Mansell, which is, if that's your bag, if you're into Formula One, if not, you could do worse. I thought that was a pretty good game. I stink at it, but it was good. They put up Switchblades. I've just recently gotten into those, 1 and 2, and interesting, to say the least. And, of course, one of my perennial favorites. Hold on, let me lean over here. Okay, we go. One of my perennial favorites, which is Techno Cop. Dumb and stupid, but fun. You know, I've always enjoyed that. And, of course, the Zool games as well. So they were a huge player on the Amiga. And when this came out, I'm pretty sure they knew right away they had a hit on their hands. They even this is a game that got released on the NES, which is crazy. This had a pretty wide play. You know, it's funny for a game I've never played. It got around, and I looked at a couple of the other game versions. They looked okay. The Amstrad looks good. The ZX Spectrum. I haven't seen the ST. I'm assuming it's very similar. C64 got a port as well, and the MSX. So not too bad, you know. Man, broke again. Boy, this is imitating real life where I spend way too much money on my car. At least in this game you're having fun with your car. Not like in real life where I'm out there getting killed. Which reminds me, just off topic, I'm coming home from work today, and there's a huge traffic jam right at the border of Kentucky and West Virginia, right at the bridge. And as I drive by after sitting there for 20 minutes, there's a car that has jammed under the back end of a semi, and it's jammed under it to the point where the windshield is not visible. I mean, the person driving it must have just been going crazy, and you could see the airbag exploded in there. And when I got home, I looked into it. It turns out it was a lady who was driving and looked away for a second, looked back, and she was going full board in the semi. And amazingly, she got out of the wreck with only minor cuts and scratches. So, modern technology. It's amazing. If you'd seen the wreck, she should have been dead a million times. It's crazy. So, hopefully we won't have any wrecks of that variety in this game. But it was brutal. But getting back to the game, I like the music in the game. I think it's pretty well done. I like the fact that the tunes are catchy and you sort of just sit in the background. I believe the fellow that did it was named Ben Daglish, as I recall. And I think I've only played the second Supercars a few times now. But I don't know if he actually was involved in the second one or not. I don't think he was. I think he just did. I don't recall the second one having track music, because I remember thinking that's kind of a bummer. I like to have some tunes or some drums or something beating around while I'm, whipping around. Especially a game like this that could sort of get kind of repetitive. I mean, you're doing it for laps, so it's going to be repetitive. But if you're enjoying it, and the music adds to it, this game, one of the problems I have, I never feel like I'm gaining enough speed in this game. I always am hitting the wall or hitting a guy. I feel like I've got pretty good control, but like I said, the road you've got to work with is narrow. Which, you know, hey, it's in this sort of racing, I would guess there is quite a bit of bumping and smashing into the wall and whatnot. Oh, son of a gun. The computer in this is actually pretty good. Ah, oh, that's brutal. Just beat me to the wire. I get this. So, son of a gun. No, you can't win them all, eh? So, while this is loading up here, I looked over some of the reviews this game got, and I was actually surprised that it didn't review as well as I would have thought. Amiga Format gave it an 86, which that's pretty good. Amiga Power gave it an 89, but the rest of everything else is a little lower. CU Amiga gave it a 67, which that's a pretty brutal score. You know, I mean, that's really, you would think it would be you know, do better than that. They gave the last ability of it 58%. Brutal. They're all over it for not having a second player, which admittedly, either they were saving that or they didn't have the tech to do it at the time. Maybe, you know, because obviously Supercars 2 does have a 2-player version, and clearly 2 players is what you'd want. But you know, still, I mean, I think in terms of playability or replayability, I think this game's got it going in spades. I found that odd when I read their review, but you know, it is what it is. I think I would put this somewhere in the, you know, upper 80s. I mean, I think it's a good quality title. I will say, after playing Supercars 2. I mean, if they're playing this, you know, I look at the way these games are made, and I would wager that when Magnetic Fields were putting this together, having also done the Lotus series, they probably had a pretty good idea that they were going to, number one, have a hit on their hands, and number two, that the game would probably gain a sequel soon. I mean, if you look, this game came out in 90, the same year they did Lotus, and in 91 they put out the second Supercars, and in 92 they put out, or in 91 they also put out the second Lotus, so in 91 they were doing 2 sequels. So I would say they probably gave themselves a little bit of room to improve when they put these out. And of course, if you've played the original Lotus, it's a good game. But Lotus 2 is the you know, it's the premier racing title on the format, without a doubt. And so I'm sure that they left themselves some low-hanging fruit to add to a sequel to make it more desirable. It's odd to me that they were releasing these things so quickly. It seems like a year is not very long between releases, and I would assume that they probably started working on a sequel. I mean, if you think about a year, you're probably working on the sequel almost as soon as you finish the first one. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if they just plan for sequels. There's a Supercars 3 that was a PC version that I've heard good things about. I've not seen it. Not bad. Track 5. That's not too bad. We're getting into the areas now where I will occasionally fail, and I will say I'm just gonna play this thing until I finally lose it. But so far so good. So let's see what we got to play with here in the garage. Not much, and man, my tires. I barely made it. In the first couple of games I played this, my tires kept blowing on the track, and I was like, what am I doing wrong? And well, I didn't understand exactly how things worked at the time. So now that I know about the garage, it's obvious that those need repaired straight away. Wow, that cost me. Don't look good. At least the stuff's in the green. Let me look over the list here. Yeah, what the hell. I love power steering. I mean, it helps a ton. I believe we're on track. Yeah, 6. Here we go. I know these cars were modeled after actual cars. I'm not a big car guy, but from what I read, you can buy something called a Tarraco Neoroder Turbo, the Val Interceptor Turbo, and the Retron Parsec Turbo. Cool names. Apparently they're based on Honda NSX, Alfa Romeo, which I've heard of that. So at least I've heard of the cars they're based on. Alright. This track here is nasty. And the next one's even worse. These things do ramp up quite nicely in terms of their difficulty. I think they do a good job. You know, on the Amiga, there's a, and this is no secret, but difficulty is, and ramping up said difficulty seems to be a problem. Now, I've talked to Boat about this extensively, and we came to the conclusion that they made them hard because you paid money for them and you wanted them to last for a while, and you had the time to master them because you weren't playing, 20 games at once, and presumably you weren't out working a full-time job like we are, or raising a kid or whatever, because these were games played for youngsters, and so they made them hard, and that's to give you your money's worth, more bang for your buck. So when we come across a game that I actually don't suck at right out of the box, it's a pleasant surprise. We have played so many games, and it's hard to try to give someone an honest opinion about how you feel about a game when you're so lousy at it that it really makes you. I hate having to watch someone else play something to try to get an idea of what's going on. It just drives me absolutely crazy. And so I do my best to try to get good enough with these games to be able to form a decent opinion on them if I'm not real familiar with them. And so this has been a lot of fun, and like I said, it's something I've been able to pick up pretty quick. I will say Supercars 2 is beautiful, and it plays faster, and I have a hell of a time keeping my car on the road. It just really, I can control my car much better in this game. So I don't know if that's just something because I suck, or I don't know what it is, but I had much more trouble controlling my car on the other one. Bam, not bad, second place. Power steering paid off. Well, I'm going to play it on the end or until I die, one or the other here. So anyway it goes, we should be nearing the end of this particular Amigos Plays. Okay. Sure would have liked to have taken first there, because the car clearly is taking a beating. And sometimes I'll go through these and just not go to the garage at all if I've got enough stuff. But I mean, I've been hitting so much stuff, it makes it hard. It's extremely hard. Okay, well, we'll just spin what we've got here. This aspect of the game, I had to say, and it's funny, normally I'm not really into the whole upgrade system. I'm just an arcade guy. I just like to play and not to fool with anything. But if they keep it simple and it makes sense, I like it. And that's what they've done here again. They didn't reinvent the wheel. They just you've got your little dealer. You go buy the stuff you want. It's straightforward, and it works. Even the controls that they control. Hold on, hit that. The control methodology for the missiles makes perfect sense. It's easy, hit up or down. It works. You don't load up on missiles. It's not a missile fest out there. Now, in the second one, that is a whole different ball game there. It's crazy time. But this game, it was much simpler. Something else they've done is they very cunningly placed obstacles in this game to really make you think about how you're going to navigate them, or if to reward you if you've bought the right items at the store to let you go through stuff like the oil slick or the mound of dirt or whatever that is, sand, I guess is what it is. Okay, let's see if we can try to come in first on this one. Although we got a ways to go. Sometimes you'll be playing one of these, and I'll think I'm doing pretty good, and there's just a car out there that you just can't catch. He's gone. And the computer, I think, plays a pretty fair game because they will, if you mess up, they will pass you. They will cut corners on you. They will crowd you. They're very irritating. At this point, I'm going to hit that every time. I just hope I spin the right way. The funny thing about let's talk about the drifting in this a little bit. So, if you've got your button down to, basically your button's your gas. If you let go of the button as you go into a turn, your car will drift towards the way the momentum would be carrying you, which is fun and cool. Well, that cost me there, but man, it always gets me into trouble. And the problem is, that's just the way the game is. So if you right there, case in point, son of a gun, I drifted around that corner, and while I was out there drifting around, that guy just hit the gas and spun right under me. It's very annoying, and there's not much you can do about it. It's short of just not letting off the gas when you hit those corners. I'm sure that's everyone loves the drifting. I'm sure that was a popular feature back in the day, and I'm sure in a more skilled hand. Oh, man, I did horrible. So much for placing first. Well, I think that will be the end of it, folks. We had a good run. Not too bad. I've done better. It's hard to play and talk at the same time. But not too bad. And a fun game. I always have a fun time playing it. Oh, man. I like the way it wrote that out. Well, anyway, I hope you enjoyed taking a look at supercars. And join us for the show this week. We're doing supercars. So until then, this is Aaron. Take it easy and adios.